You mean there's an economy there? Amidst all of the wars and conflicts and hatred? There is. And it could be even stronger, not only benefiting the Israelis, it could benefit the Palestinians too. If the people there were willing to settle everything and find a way to make peace, the benefits economically would be massive. Do you remember the three sectors of the economy, the primary, the secondary, and the tertiary sector? This is what I'm going to go through. So, the Israelis have a primary sector, and it's based on self-sufficiency. What happened was this. When the state of Israel was founded, their attitude was, and to a large extent still is, that they live in a rough neighborhood and no one in the neighborhood likes them. Because of that, they felt that the most important thing you could do would be self-sufficient with agriculture. Let's face it, if you don't have food, you're not going to make it. What they did was they built up an agricultural system. At least at first it was based on a type of farm called a kibbutz. A kibbutz is a communal agricultural settlement. That means that the people who live there and work there share everything. They share the work, they share the expenses, and they share the profit. This was started by Russian Jews who immigrated to Israel, so you can tell what this would have come from. This would have come originally from communism, but at the same time, under communism, for example, with Joseph Stalin, the communization of the farms was done at the point of a gun. This was voluntary. Obviously, if you do something voluntarily, it's different than if you're forced to do something. Today, the agricultural system is just overwhelmingly commercial agriculture. But they have kept many of the kibbutzes around because they're proud of the kibbutz system. It allowed them to make it in the beginning. And it's used also as a kind of tourism sector where tourists will go and they will explain to the tourists how the system was set up and why the system was set up. In addition to that, the Israelis are some of the world's leaders in hydroponics. Now, in the United States, we generally see hydroponics as something that people do with marijuana. But they use hydroponics to grow all kinds of crops. What hydroponics is this. It's growing plants in water without the use of soil. If we ever grow plants on Mars, this is probably the way it's going to be done. I had a class with an Israeli hydroponics engineer. He was traveling all over the world selling Israeli hydroponics technology. I recall him giving us a story in one of my classes about how he had been to Singapore. And he was saying that many of those large buildings you see in Singapore are not actually apartment buildings or businesses. They're farms. They just vertically layer the agricultural products and climatize each floor for whatever the type of crop it is that they're growing. And how do they grow the crops? In water. The secondary sector in Israel is based heavily on value-added products. These are products that have a high market value, but are relatively inexpensive to produce because of technology, skill, and education. The Israelis are the most educated group of people in the Middle East. They utilize that to produce such things as high technology equipment, military equipment, diamond cutting. There's no natural resources in Israel. The diamonds are imported in the rough form and then they're cut. Finally, the tertiary sector in Israel and for the Palestinians is tourism. All three of the great monotheistic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, have an interest in that area. If there was a peace in that area and people could go there confidently without concern for their lives, the amount of money that would flow into that area would be astounding, and it would benefit all. But that requires realizing this and not wanting to kill the next generation of whichever side you're on. And of course, teaching your children not to want to do that either.